Hello, hello. Just going to wait a sec, see if anybody trickles in. Oh, we have a count there. Today we're going to be talking about 3 surprising lessons that I learned from doing 100 reps of exercise per day for 2 years. And just going to make sure I'm getting all set up. It's kind of fun. You can't go live without actually going live, meaning you can't be set up already. You have to make sure that you're set up, but you can't do that unless you are live and testing whether your thing is set up. So I'm just going to make sure that I can actually that I am actually live right now, because I only sort of know that. Great. I'm going to take a deep breath. Feel free to join me, especially if you are watching this post game, tomorrow or something. If you know my system, Self Science, you know that it's about doing habit experiments. And a few weeks ago, taking deep breaths, deep sighs was part of one of my experiments, actually. All right. So let's talk about these 3 surprising lessons. So yeah, first, basically, I started doing 100 reps of exercise per day about now it's over 2 years ago, 2.5 years maybe. And now I'm up to maybe like 200 reps a day. I don't really count it. I did count it at one point, but now, I could call it consistent exercise. But the most remarkable thing about it, people like the numbers when they hear numbers. 100 a day, that kind of sounds like a lot. I don't think it's a lot. Even 200 is sort of a good amount for me. It impresses me. I impress myself sometimes. But the really remarkable thing about it is that it's actually easy. And the reason why it is easy is because I built it so that it was easy, and so that it would fit into my life, because my life is different from everyone else's life, I think. And so my habits need to be different from everyone else's. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll talk more about all of that. But the way that I like to think about these 3 surprising lessons that really have changed how I see habits in general is to think of them as lies that I used to think were true. And I've kind of uncovered them for myself. And I hope, maybe I'll uncover them for you. Maybe you also have believed these lies. And this might be a lesson that they're not true and what actually is true. So you'll see there's this space here, this little black bar on the side. And that is where my slides are going to go. So here, let's just start with lie number 1. Oops. There we go. Okay, so I used to believe, and I really don't believe this anymore because I know it's a lie, but I used to believe that good habits make you a good person, or that habits are somehow related to morality in some way. And while habits can make your life, I think, easier, more satisfying, they can make you, more connected to other people. They don't make you a good person, but we all think of it like that. Like it's a culturally embedded sort of issue. Lie. It's culturally embedded lie. Habits, what are habits really? They're just tools for living a satisfying, more satisfying and easier life. But they're tools. And so if you think of like a hammer helps you build shelves, let's say. But if you use a hammer every day, or you get really good at using a hammer, it doesn't make you a better person, right? It just makes you better at building shelves. And so habits, similarly, like they don't getting, being consistent with a habit doesn't make you a better person. It just makes, maybe, hopefully, it makes part of your life easier or more satisfying. And if it does, then you will probably stick to that habit. And if it doesn't, then you should not stick to that habit. And I call this lie the virtue trap. Because, there's this, again, the idea that it is virtuous to stick to a habit. And every time that we find a new habit online, for example, on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever your social media consumption, stage is, you'll see people like, oh, I did this for 100 days or whatever, that's kind of what I did. Right. But you'll see people selling their habits to you. This is a habit you need to do or whatever. And by the way, my habit of 100 reps per day is not something I think you should do necessarily. It is something I have built into my life. And I'll get to that. That's lie number 2. We'll get to that. But you see all kinds of people being like, here's something I did or something you should do or whatever. And then you're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should do that. And then you try. And then there's this question hanging in the back of your mind at the very first day, which is, am I good enough to stick to this habit? So it's a question about your worth. Can you live up to this habit that you just happen to find and think is a good idea? And that is the lie. That's the virtue trap. And it's a trap because it traps you. You put yourself in a box. I have to be consistent with this habit in order to be good. And that is that is a trap. And so when you get into a trap, what does your brain do? It escapes. We always escape from traps if we can. So the virtue trap is a lie. And what we want to do is flip it. Instead of saying, am I good enough to live up to this habit, to be consistent with this habit that I just found somewhere? The question is this habit good enough to live up to my life? Can it be consistent for me? And if it can't, then where should it go? In the garbage. Or you could tweak it. It doesn't have to, habits don't need to exist in the form that other people, that you first see them in. So, I'm telling you, I hooked you to get here by saying I did 100 reps of exercise per day. And that's like, I don't know, it's a cool sounding habit, right? But your habit, if you want to do more exercise, your habit won't be exactly that. And it won't be the exact exercises I do, because the exact exercises I do are specific to my weak points. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my my routine, just to give you an idea of what it is. But again, it's not like for you. It's just something that one could do. And it's an example of something I did. And maybe you'll learn a little bit from how I did it and these lessons I learned from doing it. But so my exercise, it started because I injured my knee again. This is the knee I had surgery on, 8 years before. And I injured it, and the injury sort of kept getting worse. And I was like, what's going on? So I went to my acupuncturist / chiropractor, who I trust deeply. And he was like, oh, you're just weak. Your muscles in your leg are just like weak. And that's why you're feeling instability and whatever. And well, he was like, I think that's what it is. So try getting it stronger. And if it's still a problem, then you could get some, imaging or whatever. But he was like, just do physical therapy. And so I was like, okay, interesting. So this injury is keeping me from enjoying my life. It's keeping me from really being alive. And it was keeping me from walking. That was a big thing. Because walking is a part of life in New York, especially. So he was like, you need to just strengthen these muscles. So I did. And he was like, you just do, 3 sets of 15 reps of like this very basic physical therapy exercise to it's like a, what do they call leg extension, right? You strengthen your quads. And And so I started doing it and I started to feel better, right? And I was like, wait a second, like I've done this before. I've done physical therapy. I've seen how it like changes you. It goes from like you feel bad, you feel weak, you are in pain, to feeling better. And so I was like, what if I just kind of took physical therapy and put it into my life? And I was like, all right, how do I do that? And I was like, well, 100 is a cool number. Like, I was already doing what, 3 sets of 15 is 45. That's half of 100. If I do 2 exercises and I do that, then I've hit 100. But what if I don't even need to do 3 sets of 15? What if I just do like 1 set of 20, 5 different exercises? That seems really easy. So I started doing that. And, so the exercises were very basic things like lunges, squats, things to strengthen my legs. And then suddenly my knee, after about a year, was no longer my weakest point. Then it became my low back. And why is that? That's because I have a 3-year-old daughter. At the time she was 2. I guess it was about a year ago, right? So, and I was carrying her around a lot in my arm, walking, carrying her, being like, yeah, I'm the man. My knee doesn't hurt. I'm like good to live and stuff like that. And then this one day I picked her up and held her over the sink to like change her diaper or something. And my lower back went like, whoop. You know what I'm talking about? That little whoop. And then like, I was like, oh God. And then I put her down and I just crumbled and I just like could not walk. And then I was like, no, I'm going to work through this. I'm going to do some foam rolling and like release something. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm okay to go. We had to take my mother-in-law to the airport. So we went to the airport, got out of the car, crumbled in the street. I could not walk. I could not move. I was basically in a squat. I was just like huddling. I couldn't sit. I couldn't stand. And I couldn't even, I couldn't lie down. I wasn't going to lie down in the street. Luckily, I could squat. So I was just sitting there and I was like, I don't know what to do. So 3 days, I got home by taking an Uber. I got home. 3 days I was on my back. And then after that, I was like, let me go back to that chiropractor and see what he, the acupuncturist, and see what he's got to tell me. And he was like, okay, well, these muscles are really like tight, like super tight, locked up. So he was like, you got to stretch those, So then I was like, okay, this is my new weak point. So let me adapt my like 100 reps a day to this thing and, not lose the knee exercises, still do some of those, but like shift a little bit. Right. So then I just like, I'm also a big fan of this guy, Nassim Taleb, who wrote The Black Swan, Anti-Fragile. And one of his big things that I think is deeply true is if you strengthen your weakest points, meaning you become less fragile, that is like the most important thing, because you're only as strong as your weakest points. And you literally, your joints, right? Your body is a chain. You've got these joints that are connected by bones. So it's kind of like links in a chain. And you're only as strong as your weakest joint. If you break your pinky toe, you can't walk. And that's like this tiny little thing. So strengthening your weakest points, this became my like mantra. Strengthen my weakest points. And 100 reps a day is sufficient to do that. It takes time, but like if you just have faith, and that is really the key, is faith in what you're doing. But when you start a new habit and you're like, am I good enough to live up to this habit? You don't have faith in it. You can't have faith in it because you haven't done it before. And even if someone else told you like it works for me, you probably have in the back of your mind some doubt, and that's going to stop you from doing it. So good habits need to live up to your life. They need to be things that fit into your life so that you actually do them. Because if you don't do them, then they don't make your life better. So that's the number one thing. The habit has to survive before it can improve your life. It has to survive in your life. So stop thinking that habits are a test of whether you are good enough to be consistent with them, and start thinking about how I can build habits differently so that they are good enough for my life. Sometimes I talk too fast. I don't think I'm talking that fast, but like maybe I am. Like, because the AI has told me at times like I'm like 193 words per minute or something. But anyway, let's move on to the second lesson, which is, we kind of touched on this before, but someone else's routine or someone else's habit will work for you. That's a lie. Why is it a lie? Because think about one life. Let's say we're holding a life in my hands. Let's say it's my life. This life is so complicated because think of all the people that I know, all the people who have influenced me, all of the TV shows I have watched, all of the, every little thing that has influenced me is going to be different from anyone else. And so if a habit is going to improve my life, it has to, as I said, fit into my life. And it can't fit into my life if it fits into someone else's life, because our lives have different shapes and we have different holes in our life, different spaces for habits to fit. So we really underestimate the differences between our life and the lives of other people. And here's like just another example. Let's say two guys, they may run every day. Let's say they have habits, right? They run every day. And they might run for completely different reasons. The first one might be for vanity or sort of like insecurity about looking not fit enough, right? And the second one may do it because it reminds him of something he used to do with his father, let's say, who may have passed away. Now, this habit is called running for both people, but it's a really completely different thing to these two people. Isn't that interesting? It's running, but it's completely different to each of these two people. So if the surface, if someone tells you I run, you're like, oh, maybe I should run, right? But running, what it means to them and how it fits into their life is going to be completely different from you. So running may not fit into your life. Or meditation is like this. Everyone talks about meditation, right? Or, scientists talk about it, and gurus and Reddit people on Reddit. Oh, you got to meditate. And it's like, well, what is meditating? What does it mean when you say I meditate, right? How does that fit into your life? And that means, what are you actually doing? When, are you sitting down? Are you closing your eyes? Are you standing up? Are you walking? Are you, are you doing it the right way according to who? And now here's the real kicker, the real cool part, I think, which is, why do you want to meditate? Maybe you want to meditate because you think you'll have better focus, right? Let's say. And really, the real reason why you want to meditate is because you want your life to be easier and more satisfying, right? Because why do you want better focus? You want to be able to get things done so you can feel more satisfied or whatever. So you want to meditate because you want more focus. And someone else says, oh, you want more focus? You got to meditate. You got it. It's proven, right? But you try to do it. And, they say you got to do 12 minutes of mindfulness a day in order to get the, significant benefits. So you try to do that and you don't. And then you think, back to the virtue trap, you think, oh, I'm not good enough to meditate. And that, of course, is a lie. Because the truth is that meditation didn't fit into your life, or the way you were thinking about this habit that you called meditation, that somebody else called meditation. It just didn't fit into your life. And so it's not going to get you the result that you're looking for. Whereas, let's say a completely different habit could give you the result you're looking for. Better focus, right? So I have meditated at various points in my life. I've meditated for a year at a time, and then another year at a time. 1 year was 5 minutes, 1 year was 15 minutes a day. And it was good, I think. It fit into my life at the time. Right now, I haven't been meditating. There are sometimes I do. It's like not I don't know. It's not a thing, really. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I started taking naps. And holy shizer, naps for me, if I take a 15-minute nap, because, if you nap too long, you don't wake up, right? I mean, you wake up groggy. But if you nap, I set a timer for 15 or 20 minutes, and I wake up and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I feel good. I feel healthier. I feel more alert. That's basically the result. It's one of the main results I would say I'm looking for meditation, is to feel less frazzled and fragile and chaotic in my mind. And it turns out that a little rest gives me that. So for now, that actually fits into my life better than meditation. I'm not saying meditation's bad. Don't get me wrong. Don't say, oh, Dave, but meditation's really good. You shouldn't say that, right? Because I'm not saying meditation is bad. I'm saying a habit that doesn't fit into your life is not for you right now. And if meditation does not fit into your life, then you should stop feeling bad about it and start finding the habit that does fit into your life and that gets you the result that you're looking for. That is all I'm saying. I'm going to take a deep breath to that. All right, let's go on to number 3. The third lie is that streaks matter. So again, it kind of comes back to like, am I good enough to be consistent with this habit, right? And because how do you know? Well, I have a streak or not. And I definitely, when I was meditating every day, I was like, I am a meditator because I have a streak. I have been doing it every day. And so I get to call myself a meditator, and that feels good. But that's kind of secondary, right? Like, does it matter? Does it matter if you get to call yourself something, or does it matter if the habit actually makes your life better when you do it? I would say the second. So, do streaks matter? Well, maybe, but if you're breaking a streak, first of all, if the streak is the only thing that's getting you to do the habit, then that's very fragile. So it's okay, you can keep doing it, but just know that you're doing it for the streak at this point. And if you keep doing it, that's great. But at some point, the bigger the streak gets, the higher it gets, the harder it falls. And I'm actually I have this right now. I'm on Duolingo, which is an app that's very well designed to use streaks and like gamify, a habit of learning languages. I'm not even sure if I should call it learning languages. It's more like, it is that basically, but it's more like, 5-minute lessons. It could be for anything. But I have a really long streak, a very high streak. It's like 1450, I think, 1450 days. Is that 3 years? It's over 3 years. And it's cool. I'm doing it for the streak right now. But if I break that streak, it's going to be hard to restart it. And so, I'll let you know how it goes. But basically, I'm learning Spanish and Chinese. I alternate, one day Spanish, one day Chinese. It's like a super long-term goal, right? Like, I'm not like whatever. Like, what I'm trying to do is prime myself so that if I ever go to a place where I'm immersed in that language, one of those languages, then I can learn it more quickly. That's all. And I only do one lesson a day, which takes like 2 minutes. But the streak is what's keeping me alive at this point. So it's fragile. Streaks are fragile. And they don't really matter. That's my point, is that what really matters, like if they help you do the habit, that's good. But what really matters is the habit making a difference in your life? And if it is, then you will keep doing it. And if it's not, then you will not keep doing it. And you should not feel bad about it, even though you probably will, but you shouldn't. There is one streak that matters, however. One streak that really matters. And that streak is the habit of paying attention to your life. Some call it mindfulness. Some might call it science. I call it self-science. And it is mindfulness. It's very similar. By the way, science and mindfulness to me are the same thing. What? Yes, because they are both about a very simple habit, which is paying attention without judgment. Paying attention to things as they happen and just being like, huh, that's interesting. Let me learn more about that. That's what science is, and that's what mindfulness is. So I have this system called self-science, and it's about paying attention to your life. And we log data every day. We do 1 minute, takes 1.5 minutes, maybe at most, to log your data. And then you get statistics and stuff like that. But this is the only habit that I think really matters, because no single habit is going to make or break your life. I mean, let me reframe that. Some habits will break your life. Very bad habits, right? Like very heavy drugs will break your life quickly. But no good habit is going to like, ta-da, make you like evolved and enlightened and like the best version of yourself. It's not going to happen with one habit. What happened with the habit that does help you become a better person is paying attention to things, because your life fluctuates a lot, right? You do habits for a little while, then you drop them, or, you're in this job and it's very stressful and then you leave, or you are in a relationship and then you're not. And so, all these things are always changing. So your habits, they're temporary. They fit whatever's happening now. But if you're not paying attention to what's happening now, and then you're like, oh, I need this habit to be better, it's not going to fit because you're not really paying attention to where it can fit, right? So it's really just paying attention is the only streak that matters. Once you pay attention, then you can figure out how to fit habits into the cracks in your life so that they are effortless and impactful. And that's what habits should be. Habits should be low effort, high impact. And you can do that if you're paying attention to your life, not to somebody else's life on Instagram, to your life. And you got to do it every day. Or it's okay to miss a day. That's not a problem. But, you don't want to get into the streak of not paying attention every day, of like real numbness, right? When you get into that streak, you might call that an anti-streak. It's like, how many days have I not paid attention to my life? That's when you start to get into trouble, because the pain, you're not feeling the pain of things. And then when you don't feel the pain is a signal that things are not how you want them to be. And when you don't feel the pain, then you're not getting that signal. So it's going to prolong the negative force that's causing the pain. So we just got to pay attention. Let me just check my notes, check some questions I got before. Yeah. So I kind of, this image that I think it resonates with me, which is the idea of like trying to, like, imagine you buy a treadmill, right? This giant machine. And you're like, I'm going to like stuff this into my life. I'm going to like be a treadmill person all of a sudden, right? You're trying to basically jam a habit into your life. You're trying to now my life has to revolve around this treadmill. I have to cut my life. I have to cut a hole in my life that's the size of a treadmill. And so that doesn't work, right? Similar to the virtue trap. It's similar. You could say I'm trapping myself in a treadmill box. So trying to do that just doesn't really work. You're trying to fit. It's a bad fit. It's just not going to happen. Instead of buying the treadmill and spending, $1,500 or whatever, you can find the tiny cracks in your life where exercise can enter. And then you can try different exercises. What fits into my life? And that costs nothing. And it's very low effort. And it will have an impact if you keep doing it. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. I will say the other thing, just in terms of exercise, and like for me, 100 reps a day has been the right, level, and I do more, but it's like at least 100 reps a day for me now. Is that it feels effortless because the exercises I do are not that crazy. I'm not doing like deadlifts. I'm not lifting weights. I do have weights. Sometimes I lift them just because I feel energized. I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me go a little harder today. But like, I don't care. I'm not trying to like get strong. I'm trying to prevent myself from getting injured. And I only have to do a little bit in order to really do that. But it takes faith. And the faith has come for me in two big ways, like from two sources. One is that if you do 10 squats right now, you will feel it. You will feel, whoa, I just did something. And that gives you faith. Oh, this is having an effect, right? But 10 squats takes 1 minute or less, like maybe 2 minutes at most. And so very small, but impact. I feel the impact. So I have faith in that, right? So you need the size of your habits to be just right, Goldilocks. If they're too small, you're going to be like, what is this? This is not doing anything. If they're too big, you're going to be like, oh, I did it for a day or 2 days. Whoa, I made 3 days. Am I going to have to keep doing this forever? And then you drop it. So the size, it's got to be Goldilocks. You feel the impact immediately, but it's easy. So if you are curious about learning more about any of this stuff, I do have a free, I call it Ripple Habits checklist. So Ripple Habits are like my 100 reps of exercise. They're habits that basically, good habits that ripple through your life and create more energy for more good habits. They're also called keystone habits in some circles. I have a free checklist for that. You can also get a free 20-minute habit consultation specifically for healthy workday habits. So are you desk bound? Are you feeling the effects of sitting, right? Doctors say sitting is the new smoking, but you might already be feeling effects from it, like I have felt. And this is a problem I've worked on myself. 100 reps of exercise a day, pretty good at solving that. I do a few other things too. But yeah, so if you want a consultation about your workday habits, how to make them healthier, so you're, avoiding the harm of being desk bound, you can go to selfsciencecoaching.com. Again, selfsciencecoaching.com. And you can find me there. And also feel free to DM me if you're on LinkedIn right now watching this, and we can chat. All right. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Take care.